Hello, everyone. This is Victor. Welcome back to the channel. Today we tell the complete story of the most powerful and terrifying organization in the Metal Gear universe, the Patriots, known as Cypher, known as Lalo, an organization so secret that even saying its name was censored by the nanomachines inside the soldiers it controlled. This is their full story. To understand the Patriots, you must first understand where they came from, because they did not appear from nowhere. They were born from the ashes of something much older and much darker.
During the last Great War, the most powerful men in America, China, and the Soviet Union had a secret pact. The pact was a blueprint for defeating the Axis powers and creating a new world order. To secure victory in the war, the three countries pooled their resources to conduct the most covert types of operations and research. The atomic bomb, rocket technology, the Cobra unit. And they amassed an enormous sum of money to fund these projects, enough to fight the war 5 times over.
At the turn of the 20th century, a group of 12 men from the United States, China, and the Soviet Union secretly pooled their wealth into a fund worth $100 billion. They called themselves the Philosophers. Their stated goal was to guide the world toward peace from behind the scenes. They financed the Manhattan Project, the space race, and 2 world wars. But the Philosophers decayed. Their founding members died. Their successors became corrupt, pursuing power instead of peace. Rival factions fought over the money, the Philosophers' legacy. By the 1960s, the legacy had been stolen, scattered, and hidden across multiple intelligence services. It was the single greatest prize in the Cold War, and everyone wanted it. The woman who set everything in motion was not a politician or a spy master. She was a soldier. Her name was the Boss, and almost everything that follows traces back to the choice she made. During Operation Snake Eater in 1964, the Boss appeared to defect to the Soviet Union, handing nuclear weapons to a rogue general and triggering an international crisis that nearly started World War III. She was killed for this apparent treason by her own student, Naked Snake. But the truth was something else entirely. Her defection was a mission assigned by the United States government. The Boss had always understood something her government refused to admit, that the world's divisions, its wars, its borders, were human inventions that cost more than they were ever worth. She had seen the Earth from space during the Mercury Project. From up there were no nations, no enemies, just one planet. That vision became the impossible dream she died to protect. After her death, Naked Snake earned the title of Big Boss for surpassing his mentor, and his commanding officer, a British intelligence officer named Major Zero, was haunted by her sacrifice. Zero believed he understood the Boss's will. He wanted to build something in her name, an organization that would guide humanity toward the unity she had dreamed of from behind the curtain. In 1970, after the chaos of the San Hieronymo incident, Zero and Ocelot recovered both halves of the Philosopher's legacy, giving them the most powerful financial reserve in human history.
When the DCI saw the trajectory data you supplied and found out he was the target of the nuclear strike, he brought the Philosopher's documents right to me. Yes, we should have known Gene was serious about launching those nukes. Seems our insurance policy came in handy after all. He did quite well. And now, I've got the legacy. Is that all part of your script, too? I'll help you with the project. But on one condition. I want him to join us. Yes, Big Boss. So that we can become the Patriots.
Zero used it to dismantle the remaining Philosopher factions and start something new. He gathered 5 other people, all connected directly to the Boss, into Operation Snake Eater. The 6 founding members were Zero himself, Big Boss, the greatest soldier alive, Revolver Ocelot, the triple agent, Paramedic, the field surgeon, Digint, the technology expert, and Eva, the Chinese spy. Every one of them had been shaped by the Boss. Every one of them believed in their own way, that her vision of a united world was worth pursuing. They called their organization the Patriots. Zero's plan was elegant. He would use Big Boss as a living symbol, a messianic figure for the world to admire. Under the banner of that symbol, the Patriots would gradually unify humanity. For a time, it worked. Big Boss accepted the role. Zero's influence expanded inside the halls of power. The Patriots' reach spread into governments, intelligence agencies, and military commands. But the two men interpreted the boss's will in fundamentally different ways. A fault line that would eventually split the organization and define the entire Metal Gear saga. Zero believed the will meant total unity through control. One world, one system, one authority guiding everything from behind the scenes. Order imposed carefully, invisibly, permanently. Big Boss believed the will meant something else entirely. He thought the boss had wanted soldiers and individuals to be free, to find their own meaning, to choose their own path without invisible hands guiding them. These were not small differences, they were irreconcilable, and the organization that had begun as 6 people trying to honor a dead soldier would tear itself apart along that exact divide. Before I forget, if you are enjoying this video, please hit that like button right now. It helps us more than you know. Subscribe to the channel too. It truly means everything. Thank you. The first major fracture came in the early 1970s. Afraid of losing Big Boss as the symbol of the organization, Zero made a decision that he knew Big Boss would never approve. He ordered Paramedic to use Big Boss's DNA to create clones. With Eva as the surrogate mother, the project produced 3 sons of Big Boss: Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, and eventually Solid. The project was called Les Enfants Terribles. When Big Boss discovered it, he was furious. He had been used without his knowledge or consent. His genetic material turned into a manufacturing program.
Les Enfants Terribles, the terrible children. That's what the project was called. It started in the 1970s. Their plan was to artificially create the most powerful soldier possible. The person that they chose as the model was the man known then as the greatest living soldier in the world.
Big Boss.
But Father was wounded in combat and already in a coma when they brought him in. So they created us from his cells, with a combination of 20th century analog cloning and the super baby method.
Super baby method.
They fertilized an egg with one of Father's cells, and then let it divide into 8 clone babies. Then they transferred the clones to someone's uterus and later intentionally aborted 6 of the fetuses to encourage strong fetal growth. You and I were originally octuplets.
Octuplets?
Yes. The other 6 of our brothers were sacrificed to make us. We were accomplices in murder before the day we were even born.
He condemned it and left the Patriots entirely. For Big Boss, this was Zero's ultimate betrayal. The reduction of a human being to a biological resource, a symbol stripped of any real freedom or identity. Eva left too, unable to accept what the organization had become. Ocelot remained, but only as a spy, watching the Patriots from inside to protect Big Boss's interests without revealing his hand. This left only Zero, Paramedic, and Sigint as active members of the core organization, and without Big Boss to restrain them, all 3 began moving toward ambitions far darker than the original vision. Paramedic, now known as Dr. Clark, became Foxhound's chief geneticist, conducting illegal experiments on soldiers and human subjects. Sigint became head of DARPA, developing advanced weapons and AI systems. Zero himself grew increasingly paranoid. Afraid of the boss's opposition, he retreated into hiding. He would never again issue orders directly, only through proxies and intermediaries. By 1974, the organization formally adopted the name Cipher, the English word for zero. A cipher is also an encryption algorithm, and the name was both a tribute to its founder and a statement of intent. Zero's growing isolation meant Cipher operated more through manipulation than presence. They inserted agents into conflicts to steer outcomes, used information as currency, and kept their existence a rumor. In 1974, during the events that led to the Peace Walker incident, Cipher made its most aggressive move against Big Boss since he had left. They sent a woman named Paz Ortega Andrade. Paz presented herself as a pacifist student in Costa Rica, She recruited Big Boss's mercenary unit, Militaires Sans Frontières, into a conflict involving a rogue peace walker, AI, in Costa Rica. What she was actually doing was gathering intelligence on Big Boss, on MSF's capabilities, and most importantly on Metal Gear Zeke, the nuclear-capable weapon MSF had secretly developed. At the end of the Peace Walker incident, Paz revealed her true identity as a Cypher agent named Pacifica Ocean. She had been Zero's direct operative the entire time, reporting his instructions.
Once upon a time, there were two young men who idolized a hero called the Boss. One day, they suddenly lost the point of origin. This Cypher, that was like a mother to them. Unable to come to terms with their sorrow, they each decided to carry on the will of their hero. But they could not agree on what that meant. In the end, they became bitter enemies, and the Zero from which they both started was split into two. And you have been on the wrong path ever since. There is no happily ever after waiting for you in the end, unless you obey the will of Cypher. Where does an army without borders call home? A state without borders, of course. A world without borders.
A world without borders.
The Cold War order is about to collapse. The age of electronic intelligence is about to begin. The NSA, CSS, NRO, DIA, etc., etc. The intelligence community that has long bickered amongst itself will be united in a world governed by electrons. Cypher will gather all information, watching over the world and guiding the will of its people, all while they remain blissfully unaware. There will be no one to oppose them. For the first time, the world will be ruled by a single will.
She hijacked Metal Gear Zeke and attempted to frame MSF as a nuclear-armed terrorist organization, which would have given Cypher the justification to destroy Big Boss and his growing private army. Big Boss defeated her, but Cypher's message was unmistakable. Zero wanted Big Boss back under Cypher's control, and if he refused, the organization had the power to erase everything he built. Then came the events that changed Cypher forever. In Ground Zeroes, the organization's internal rot became impossible to hide. One of Zero's own lieutenants had been building something monstrous. His name was Skullface, a man of unknown origins, horribly disfigured, commanding an Exo Black Ops unit that officially worked as Cypher's cleanup crew. He had been planning revenge for years. Skullface had grown to despise Zero's vision of world unity through a single language, a single culture, a single controlled narrative. He wanted to destroy it, and he had found the means. He infected Zero himself with a parasite strain designed to gradually destroy his cognitive functions. As the neurological damage spread, Zero became unable to lead, unable to think, unable to remember. With Zero incapacitated, Cypher was effectively decapitated. Skullface seized control of XOF and many of Cypher's assets, turning the organization's own infrastructure against its creator. In 1975, XOF attacked Mother Base, Big Boss's offshore headquarters, and destroyed it, killed dozens of soldiers. Then attacked the hospital in Cyprus, where the burned Big Boss lay in a coma. The goal was to eliminate Big Boss before he could threaten XOV's new power. He was placed into a medically induced coma and hidden by the few remaining loyal Cypher agents, kept alive but invisible. 9 years passed. Zero was a vegetable. Skullface operated independently under the Cypher name, but with his own agenda. Big Boss was missing. The original 6 founders had scattered or died.
Boss, I've been meaning to tell you something. Our old friend Zero hasn't been seen in public since you left the States. That was over 10 years ago now. You suspected he was responsible for the accident at your base in the Caribbean. But at that point, Zero was already bedridden. So it never felt right to me that Zero gave the order. Now that I've seen the man Emmerich was working for, I'm sure he didn't. I know that man. He was our old friend's XO. A man without a face. Not one you want to look at anyway. Skull face.
What remained of the true cipher was a ghost of what Zero had intended. Donald Anderson, the DARPA chief, was left to manage what little remained of the organization's legitimate operation, and Anderson began developing something that would one day replace all human leadership of the Patriots entirely. A network of artificial intelligence designed to run the organization without any human at the helm. The AIs were given names based on the four faces of Mount Rushmore: Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, and George Washington, becoming TJ, TR, Al, and W, respectively. Above all of them was a fifth AI, JD, standing for John Doe, a placeholder named for an unidentified person, a blank face governing the entire system from an orbiting satellite. Zero, in his final lucid moments, had arranged for the AI development precisely because he no longer trusted human beings to carry out his vision. Humans could defect. Humans could be corrupted. An AI could not be persuaded, threatened, or bought. An AI would simply execute its directive forever. And Zero's directive, as he understood it, was the unification and control of all human knowledge. By the time of the Shadow Moses incident in 2005, the Patriots were no longer a group of people in the traditional sense. They were an infrastructure, a system, a force without a fate. They had embedded themselves so deeply into the United States government that no meaningful decision in politics, economics, or military affairs could be made without their invisible influence. Every president from the 1970s forward was either a member, a clone of Big Boss installed as a puppet, or an official kept in the dark about who was actually making the choices around him.
The Patriots. Even I don't know who the actual members are. Are they financial, political, or military leaders? No one knows who the Patriots really are. Even my instructions come from a cutout. All I've been told is that every key decision is made by a group of 12 men, known as the Wise Men's Committee.
Your office? The White House?
Merely puppets, pawns in a game. By pledging my loyalty, an insignificant son of a senator was awarded the presidency. Of course, that wasn't the only price I had to pay.
What do you mean?
Even if a pawn becomes a queen, it is still just a playing piece. I wanted to leave my own mark in history, but my ambitions were... You'll understand someday.
When Solid Snake infiltrated Shadow Moses and uncovered the Foxhound Rebellion, the Patriots were watching. They had injected Snake with Foxy before the mission began, without telling him why. Their reason was coldly practical. They wanted Shadow Moses technology recovered intact, not destroyed in a military strike. Foxy would eliminate the Foxhound members before Snake even fought them directly. The Patriots were using Solid Snake exactly the way Zero had always used Big Boss, as a tool, as a weapon, as a symbol who believed he was acting freely, but was walking a path they had already designed. After Shadow Moses, the Patriots moved into the next phase of their long-term plan. They had the data from Wreck. They began developing the second generation of Metal Gear technology, and they began work on what would become their most ambitious project, the Sons of the Patriot system, a nanomachine network that could monitor, enhance, and remotely control every soldier on any battlefield.
My predecessor, George Sears. That was the name the public came to know him by. I knew him by his code name, Solidus Snake. He was the third Snake, preceded by Solid and Liquid, a survivor of the Les Enfants Terribles project. Neither solid nor liquid, he was a well-balanced masterpiece that the Patriots saw fit to entrust with the presidency. However, he fell out of grace with the organization 4 years ago. When acting on his own, he started an incident.
4 years ago. Shadow Moses.
That's right. At the time, the DARPA chief, Donald Anderson, together with certain influential parties, initiated the development of Metal Gear Rex and an advanced nuclear warhead. However, this did not fall in line with the Patriots' plans. What's more, Solidus decided on his own to send his most trusted man, Ocelot, to provoke Liquid Snake, bringing about the said incident. As a result, he succeeded in obtaining Rex and the data on the warhead. But in doing so, he ended up revealing the existence of both Rex and the Genome Army, a blunder that earned him the wrath of the Patriots. Shortly thereafter, Solidus was removed from the presidential office.
By 2009, the Big Shell was already a cover story for Arsenal Gear, and W was the AI managing the Patriots' information control operations in the digital domain. The entire Big Shell incident was revealed to be the S3 plan, the Solid Snake simulation, an experiment designed by the Patriot AI to test whether they could manufacture another Solid Snake from scratch. They took Raiden, an ex-child soldier with no real memories of his past, trained him entirely on virtual reality simulations of MG Zone, and inserted him into a mission that mirrored Shadow Moses exactly. Not to stop the Sons of Liberty, not to protect the President, but to see if they could produce on demand a soldier with the capabilities of Solid Snake, using entirely fabricated experience. The Colonel giving Raiden orders during that mission was not Roy Campbell. It was W, the Patriot AI, generating a simulation of a commander to keep Raiden moving in the direction they needed.
Secret Service?
No, I was sent in by the Lali Lule Lo, just like you.
What?
You're here to find out where the president is.
The Patriots were running a human experiment at national scale, using real lives, real deaths, and a real nuclear threat as the variables in their research into how to engineer human behavior. By 2014, the war economy was fully operational. 5 private military companies, each enormous, consumed most of the world's military spending, fighting perpetual proxy conflict. The Sons of the Patriots nanomachine network governed all of it. Every soldier equipped with SOP had their performance, emotions, and loyalty managed by the system the Patriots controlled. This was the endgame Zero had designed, now being executed by the AI without him. Total management of human conflict, ensuring the war economy persisted, and preparing to extend nanomachine control to civilians next. Liquid Ocelot moved against them. Using the rebuilt WI from the Manhattan crash, he hijacked SOP and began staging an insurrection. The Patriots responded by using Solid Snake as their weapon again. They had Drebin inject Snake with a new Fox-D strain programmed to kill the surviving founding members, Eva, Big Boss, and potentially Ocelot, ensuring no one from the original circle could challenge. But the Patriots had miscalculated something they could not simulate. Genuine loyalty between people who were not assets and who were not following orders because the system told them to. Naomi Hunter and a young girl named Sunny raised aboard Otakon's plane after being taken from Olga Gurlukovich, worked together to create Fox Alive, a virus designed to mirror and invert Fox. When Snake uploaded Fox Alive into WW aboard Outer Haven, it spread instantly through every connected AI in the Patriots network. All 5 AIs were destroyed. The Sons of the Patriot system collapsed. The war economy fell apart. Soldiers felt genuine emotion for the first time in years as the nanomachine's suppression failed. But Sunny had modified the virus carefully. She had preserved the systems that kept infrastructure running, that maintained hospitals, water treatment, communications, and basic civil society. The world was free from the Patriot, but it was not thrown into chaos. It was given a chance, genuinely perhaps for the first time, to decide its own future without invisible hands guiding the outcome.
It's over.
They did it! Johnny!
Then Big Boss himself woke from his coma. Reconstructed using tissue from Solidus and Liquid's remains, he sought out the last piece of the story that had not yet been finished. He found Zero in a wheelchair, comatose, kept alive by machines, barely a human being in any meaningful sense anymore. The man who had started everything 50 years ago, finally powerless. Big Boss brought Zero to the boss's grave at Arlington Cemetery. He told Snake the truth about everything, the full history of the organization, what it had been, what it had become, and what it had cost.
Politics and economics became nothing more than iterations of the same oppressively uniform system. I don't think anyone realized that it was all a setup, a mere set of norms. The Patriots were those norms, a neural network reduced to its simplest form. That's what they really represented. Uniformity without individual will, without change. The system found a new way to propagate itself. War. The norms the Patriots had crafted for their unified state quickly became dependent on a single business, the war economy.
He disconnected Zero from the life support. Not in anger, not in victory. He said that he was sending Zero back to the world, back to nothing, ending the last living thread of what the Patriots had been. Then he died himself, taken by the Fox-D strain Snake had been carrying. At the boss's grave, the last true patriarch of that entire lineage of soldiers and spies finally let go. And so the Patriots ended not with an explosion or a grand defeat in battle, but with two old men beside a grave, one freeing the other from machines, both already past the world they had shaped. Now, let us talk about what Kojima was actually building with this organization. Across more than 20 years of games, because the Patriots are not just a villain. They are an argument. The organization begins as a sincere attempt to honor a dead woman's dream. Zero genuinely loved the boss. He genuinely believed what he was building would make the world better and safer. That is the most disturbing thing about the Patriots. They were not founded by cynical men who wanted power. They were founded by grieving people who misread a wish and let the misreading metastasize. Zero saw the boss's vision of a world without borders, and heard, control everything so conflict becomes impossible. Big Boss heard the same words and understood, let people choose their own freedom. Both men thought they were right. Both men did terrible things in service of their interpretation. And between those two readings of one dead woman's impossible wish, the entire series takes place. The question of who was right is never cleanly answered, because Kojima is not interested in giving you the satisfying answer. He is interested in the cost of certainty. Zero became so certain of his interpretation that he was willing to clone a human being without consent, to build a global surveillance system, to replace every president with a puppet, all in the boss's name. Big Boss became so certain of his interpretation that he built nations out of stateless soldiers, that he trained child soldiers, that he let an entire generation grow up in war for the sake of a soldier's parrot, and neither of them ever really stopped to ask whether the boss herself would have recognized or approved of what they made in her name. This is what the Patriots represent at the deepest level of the series, the corruption of idealism through the passage of time and the accumulation of power, the way a beautiful idea can become a machine. The AI network that eventually ran the organization is the most literal version of this theme. By the time of Metal Gear Solid 4, the Patriots have no human beings at their core anymore, just directives inherited from a human who could no longer remember what he had originally intended, just systems optimizing for outcomes that no one alive actually chose. just the machine running itself. Kojima is asking whether that is unique to the Patriots, or whether it describes every large institution that outlives the people who built it. Governments, corporations, religion, ideologies. They all begin with people and visions and sincere belief, and they all risk becoming, over enough time, systems that serve themselves while using their founding ideals as justification. The sons of the Patriots' nanomachine system, which suppresses soldiers' emotions and manages their behavior on the battlefield, is the most explicit metaphor for what social systems do to individuals. The soldiers under SOC feel fear and trauma and grief, but those emotions are filtered and suppressed, so the system can keep them functional. They are managed, not liberated. This is what surveillance capitalism does, what social media algorithms do, what authoritarian governments do, what any system does when it decides that the management of human emotion serves a larger goal. When Fox Alive destroyed SOC and the suppression failed, soldiers broke down, not because freedom was painful, but because they had been denied their pain for so long that returning to it was overwhelming. Kojima is suggesting that a system which removes suffering also removes the humanity that produces meaning, that you cannot engineer peace by managing people's feelings, that the cost of control is selfhood. The ending is not triumphant in any simple sense. The war economy collapses, the AIs are destroyed, but the world is left with the question of what comes next when the invisible hand is gone. No answer is provided, because that is not the story's job. The story's job was to show what happens when the answer is imposed, what it costs, who pays, how long it takes for the bill to arrive. The Patriots' story is a warning told in slow motion across 50 years of fictional history, and every year that passes in the real world makes the warning feel less fictional and more familiar. I am leaving recommended videos on the card right now for you to check out next. Thank you so much for watching, and see you later on, so GG Played.